I know. That's why I downloaded it. I want to read it bad. I'm one behind on Injustice too. I need to catch up on.
I'm 2 behind on
Me too.
Injustice.
It's been boring though because it's just Supergirl's origin, which is essentially if you watch the clips on YouTube of the story, is the first like 10 minutes of the story in the video game. So it's been kind of boring book wise.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
All right, but here we go. All right, so we're back. Hope you guys enjoyed our weekly PSA there. Those are not meant in any way to be serious. That's just a throwback to a past day. I remember watching those and Saturday morning cartoons and shit would come on. So I myself like to hear them again and hunt them down on YouTube. So if anybody has any good ones they remember out there, I know Joe Crawford liked the Chompers one that I played a few weeks back. He mentioned something about it. So if I'm missing any famous ones that you guys want to hear, let me know. I'll slide them in on our break. But enough about Saturday morning cartoons and PSAs. Besides the fact that I miss all that stuff. But we're back with Carl's Midpoint Marvelous Facts. And we've kind of hit some of the bigger characters here. I don't have a full list. I'm going to make that this week so we don't start hitting any doubles and covering people we've already done. So we're going to kind of focus on more bit characters here. When Wiccan from the Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme book we covered earlier. And then we're going to give you a little bit about X-23, who's featured primarily in Edge of Venomverse, believe it or not, that we're going to review coming up next here. So, Carl, why don't you take it away and start with Wiccan, since we've already done that book, and then X-23 will be a good segue into our next one.
All right, so we have Wiccan's first appearance was in Young Avengers #1 in April of 2005. It was really hard for me to find facts about him because whenever I typed in "what the fuck facts about Wiccan," it kept bringing me to the pages about the religion for Wiccan.
I got a couple off the top of my head. If you,
you got I know I got 3 here too.
I was gonna say
the
little bit that I've read, he's the son of Scarlet Witch. It's the only thing that I really picked up on.
He's well, it's a little more. Yeah. Him and his brother, basically. They're the souls of the kids of Vision and Scarlet Witch. Like after her children originally were wiped from the existence, the soul well that they all go back to, they were reborn like naturally. So their parents are their parents, but technically they were their souls. They were originally the kids of Vision and Scarlet Witch, and his twin brother Speed, who later on was a Young Avenger. He's got Quicksilver's powers, and he kind of has like Scarlet Witch's powers. So. But yeah, they're the twins.
Yeah,
and he's gay.
Yeah, he's gay.
Boyfriend is
Hulkling. Yep, that's one of the well-known things. Also known as Teddy Altman is Hulkling, and they were found recently in New Avengers. I don't think that book's going on anymore, though, right?
No, it's done.
Yeah. So I think that ended when All New, All Different kind of changed over to the New Marvel Now or whatever the fuck it's called. I can't keep them all straight.
Yeah, that's when it ended.
And then I got also here one-time candidate for Sorcerer Supreme. And then if he can't hear the spells he's casting, his weakness is that they don't work. So that's one of his weaknesses I found. So if you, for whatever reason, cover his ears or make him deaf, he can't really cast any spells if he can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah, because he has to like believe it or something. Because he like conjures things to happen.
Yeah. So that was the other thing. Like I didn't list it because I thought it was just kind of not that it wasn't cool, but it wasn't like shocking or what the fuck worthy.
Yeah.
What was that? Because he uses his power like that, he can summon the powers up to like God level. So yeah, he's like he's up there. He's not someone you really want to start a fight with in an alley, I would say. But we're gonna move on. We've informed you about Wiccan, so he's pretty cool. To X-23, somebody else who's also pretty cool. Kyle, what's her first appearance?
So X-23
officially and then book-wise.
So X-23's first appearance was in a cartoon X-Men Evolution as X-23, and she became such a popular character that Marvel put her into NYX number 3 in February of 2004, and she was created by Craig Kyle.
Yeah. And then one of the more popular WTF facts for her would be, you want to spill the beans on this one?
She was once a prostitute and killed her pimp.
Yeah, yeah. Who she also looked up to as like a mother figure, which was kind of disturbing. So that was a fucked up relationship. How about that? Her claws were once removed from her, so they pulled them out of her, laced them with adamantium, and then reinserted them back in. And then her official code name. Yeah, her official code name for the X-Men is Talon.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
So it's down here in my notes. I didn't realize that was her official nickname.
Yeah, and then she's obviously, if you're not, you know, up to date on X-23, she has 2 claws in the hands and 1 in each foot. So that's where her third claw comes from.
Originally,
I was
gonna say originally she had 3 claws in her hand, just like Wolverine. And when they took them out to dip them in adamantium, they put 1 in her foot.
Oh, is that what they did?
Yeah, that's what they did.
Okay,
which is pretty crazy.
I like when they do the, you know, there's obviously a bunch of Wolverines running around, but I like when they have a variation with their claws. So, you know, like Jimmy Hudson can take the adamantium off his, you know.
Yeah. Dakin has one that comes. Yeah.
Dakin has the one that comes out of the bottom of his wrist. And then, you know, X-23 is the one that comes out of her foot. So you can help tell, you know, they have distinct differences visually as far as claws go, which is cool at least.
Dakin's just so gross because it's like a corkscrew. Like if he has all 3 out and he sticks in you and twists his arm, he's taking a chunk of you out. Like, oh,
yeah, he's basically cutting a circle in you.
Oh.
So yeah, that's pretty gross. But anyway, yeah. Anybody got anything else they want to say about Wiccan or X-23 or anybody? Is X-23 still dating Angel?
Yeah, I think she is.
Yeah, so she dates
Oh,
time displaced Angel, not the fucked up Angel Archangel that can't make up his mind.
Definitely worth picking up the X-23 series. I got the complete collection. It's really good. It's got really great art by Phil Noto and a couple other people. And
it's
Young Avengers.
Really
awesome.
I've read the first couple, like you know, it was a long time ago, but when I was first getting back into things, the X-23 origin story. So I'll have to refresh my memory because I don't really remember them taking the shit out of her and putting the claws back in. So I want to check all that out.
And
Young Avengers is real good too. If people want to check out Wiccan, the original 12-issue story by Alan Heinberg. It's almost never been not done by Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung. They did the first series, and then they did Avengers: The Children's Crusade, which was all about the Young Avengers, and then they had the second series by Kieran Gillen and Jamie McClevey. All 3 series were fucking outstanding. I highly recommend them.
Were you going to say something, Carl, on our way out here?
No, yeah, I was going to say I was meaning to start doing it this week. I wanted to do who originally created the characters, but Trevick covered it was Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung.
Yeah.
For Wiccan, because I got the creator of X-23 when I did her first appearance.
Yeah. So we're gonna end the marvelous midpoint facts. I mix up the segment names all the time. That's like my thing. Whatever, I do that. But we're gonna skip ahead to books, part 2 here. And this is going to be Edge of Venomverse number 1. So how about this? We got Edge of Venomverse, and I guess if you were expecting this book to be about Venom, you would be misled a little bit here. So this is also weird because I had no idea this was leading into now Venomverse down the line. I thought this was kind of just going to be a quick mini series I could hop in and out of. I had no idea this was going to be such a long-term investment. So with all that being said, this is Edge of Venomverse, 1 of 5, leading into Venomverse, which is happening in September, I guess. But this series set up the Epic Venom event of 2017. It starts here. Each issue introduces another major Venomized character that will feed into the Venomverse itself. This issue, the young mutant clone, designated X-23, collides with a cryogenic tube containing a strange alien symbiote during her frenzied escape from the facility. Bonding with the alien enhances her already considerable abilities and aids in her escape, but it begins to alter her mind. On the run from the very people that made her, can X-23 hold it together, or is she doomed to give in to Venom? So essentially that solicit tells you the entire issue, so I don't need to do anything. We're going to skip right to buy, borrow, or forget it altogether. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that's a pretty goddamn descriptive solicit if I've ever seen one. You know what I'm saying?
It really is.
Holy shit. So apparently, yeah, each of these 5 issues are just going to spotlight a different character. And in the first issue, for whatever reason, they chose X-23. So if you come to this because you're a huge Venom fan, you need to be more open-minded and be just a symbiote fan in general. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really what's happening here. We start off the issue with a very young X-23. So this is kind of like recapping her origins in a way. And she's just chowing down on fries in an elevator. She gets down to the basement sublevel of the facility and just starts jumping out of this place, attacking guards left and right, just taking them all down. Somebody from some angle, I don't know if it's defenses in the building or something, ends up firing a grenade. It's kind of a gas grenade, which chases her off into this secluded lab area room. She really has no escape, no way to get out. And for whatever reason, I don't know, can you figure this out, guys? She ends up scraping the do not open live specimen area. Does she know what's in there? Or because the art's a little fuzzy and it's hard to tell what's going on at points.
So I don't know, because in the second top panel, you can see like a little bit of the symbiote.
The black goo reaching up for her hand.
But I don't see her looking at it. I think she was looking for a way to escape, and she was just going to cut her way in there.
Yeah, I think it's just weird.
It's weird because the page before, she sniffs twice, sniff, like she smells something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then she goes over to that wall, and she puts her hand on it, and you see the symbiote reach for it, and then she slices open somehow. But then she seems surprised when the goo comes out.
That's why I think she doesn't mean to do it.
I don't think she means to do it. In that panel where she goes sniff, sniff, I think she smells the gas before the bomb
I think
goes
that's
off.
For the gas too. Yeah, I don't think she's sniffing the symbiote.
Kudos to the artists for such a dirty style, but still at the same time, I can get what she's thinking from her facial expressions. You know.
Yeah, I like the faces. The arts. I don't want to say I hate it because it is. I like how rough it is for what they're doing with it, but it does make it hard to figure out what's going on in certain points.
It does.
At least on this page, as far as Laura's intentions with being stuck in this room and the symbiote eventually latching onto her, which is what happens when she scratches the glass, it leaks out onto her. And we end up leaving the facility area and cutting to this group of kids along with the time jump. So we skip 2 months later. So you obviously assume Laura got out of there. She's hooked up with the symbiote and hiding out, and I'm betting dollars to donuts when I turn this page it was in this location where these kids are stumbling into, and I end up being right because they run into Laura pretty quick. At this point, has a running narration going on with the symbiote. She's trying to fight it off. It's pretty much being classic symbiote in that it wants to kill. And it's up to the person who is at the control to fight those urges, basically. So she chases these kids out of this building, and apparently these kids are kind of scumbags themselves because they've stolen drugs or something from these bad guys. Do you see the second panel on this page where they run into these guys? The bad guy's face with the orange vest is goddamn a nightmare. Do you see this kid's face?
Looks like a mongoloid.
Are
Oh,
those
it's funny
like
'cause it
Mike
looks like-
Tyson-esque tattoos on his face, or is that just age lines? I can't really tell.
I don't know. I can't tell either because there's two
whiskers?
panels where you see him, and you could see those on his face in two panels. But then when he gets,
Gutted?
stuck, he
Yeah.
doesn't have them on his face.
No, I
so it's
know.
weird.
I don't know what it is at all. I just don't know if the artist forgot, because that was the first thing I noticed. I'm, for whatever reason, staring at what looks like the chunk from Goonies' face on one page, and then the next page I turn it and he's got no marks on his face, and I'm like, oh, I guess it's not a tattoo, and he's just old looking.
How about this? When the symbiote's like, we should eat these kids. They're homeless. Nobody will notice they're gone. And then when the guy attacks the kid, they were like, we don't like seeing people hurt each other. You were just going to eat these children. You don't like seeing people hurt each other.
That
They
was
don't-
that was the
they-
thing I didn't get either. But I think it's X-23. You just using the symbiote's power to save the kids, and the symbiote would still fucking eat these kids if it had the chance.
Well,
And
here's my take on it. The symbiote doesn't want anybody else to eat their dinner. They don't care
Yeah.
if they do the killing,
Because
but they don't want to see someone else hurt it.
the symbiote's like, we don't like seeing people hurt each other. It makes us sick. But eating children is okay.
Yeah, it's perfectly makes sense.
it's a conflicted line of reasoning. Regardless, I like to think that X-23, when she's in full Venom mode, is because
In
her
control.
word bubbles when she talks like Venom too. I like to think those are her thoughts at that point. When she's out of the suit and you see those word bubbles, that's
Okay.
that's the symbiote. But when she's in the suit and she's
The way to think
talking
of
like the symbiote, those are her thoughts.
Artistic choice
like
here. Page where the guy
That's-
gets gutted. Bottom panel, she is all venomed out, all black. Turn
Yeah.
the page, she's got the yellow mixed in.
Yeah, I know. There's some
yeah,
definitely issues with the art, like minor detail and inconsistency issues. She also looks a lot older in this 2-month gap that's gone by than she did when she was quote unquote first X-23 and this thing latched onto her. So there's definitely some errors with that going on here, but she ends up saving these kids who've apparently stolen stuff from these drug dealers that are trying to kill them, and it's really this one killer with dreadlocks, or not dreadlocks, cornrows, that she's saving at this point, because the other ones seem to have squirmed away somewhere. But she ends up just killing all the bad guys in this alley, saving this kid, and then we end up going on another time jump. What is it? Weeks later, it says. It doesn't even label them with the number, but she's been staying with these people, and she looks a lot older again. Like, doesn't she look like, because she's wearing almost mildly skimpy clothing. They're running this scam on this store owner, because she has one of the people pop her in the face because she heals quickly.
Spider-Man ice cream.
Yeah, they go steal some Spider-Man ice cream. And as they're taking off, they draw the attention of, obviously this task force from the facility that was tracking Laura. So they grab one of her friends. And when they grab one of her friends, she venoms out. Not Laura, one of these friends that she's been hanging with venoms out on this task force guy. And he cowers like a bitch, probably pissing his pants right now. This kid's really digging it, really enjoying it, laughing like full out Joker style, ha ha ha. And Laura's getting patched up by the store owner. Really doesn't have any idea all this is going down just yet. The dude with the
kicking in.
Yeah, the dude with the corn rolls, he comes strolling up. He puts a hand on the girl who's venoming in the face of the task force guy. You can see he has venom powers, so you get the idea. She's shared bits of the symbiote with the people she hangs out with. Excuse me. And then she notices everybody's kind of in trouble and comes bursting through the store window. She's all costumed out in her symbiote. So you get a symbiote, you get a symbiote, we all get a symbiote. Everyone's, whooping ass with their suit. At this point, they're kind of trying to get away from all these guys, beat the heat, so to speak. They retreat to this church. Looks like they're kind of fucked at one point because they end up getting stuck in almost looks like a bank vault, doesn't it? Like it's got one of those submarine type doors with the turning handle.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a panic room or something.
Yeah, but the cops look like they threw a grenade right before the door could get closed fully. Laura taking the brunt of the hit because she's like all burnt up and healing by the time the door is fully closed. That's when at this point, you get confused. Laura realizes she's gonna hero out and defend everybody, but doesn't have full control over her suit or what's going on because it all starts sucking back to her, the parts that she's donated to her friends, causing this spiral time warp for some reason, and it pulls her essentially into a different dimension and different world from the one that she's already in, because this isn't regular, Marvel universe that we read about every week either when we pick this book up, from what I can tell.
No, it doesn't seem like that.
She vanishes. Yeah, she vanishes and quickly trying to gather her wits, runs into somebody who's also venomed out, and that happens to be Captain America, or what looks like him.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Captain America.
And not Hydra Cap. Like this isn't a continuity. She didn't now come to our world. This is, the Venom on this universe, possibly, or one of them, and we'll probably, hopefully find out more next issue. And issue 2 looks to be Gwenpool. So if you want to find out how Gwenpool gets venomized, that is next issue. And I might actually have to buy that one because I'm a sucker for Gwenpool shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read
I'm one of those people.
Halfway through, I started to get interested.
Yeah. That's as far as Buy, Borrow, or Forget, I'll kick things off for us. I didn't hate the story bits, but I was a little disappointed overall as far as Venom not being in the story one bit, just the symbiote. I wanted, before we get the individual characters stories going, I wanted the background for what Venomverse is all about. What they're doing here is they're really following the template for Spider-Verse and how that was all laid out. But before you got the Edge of Spider-Verse single issues in that event, you had the background for the story leading into it. So that it's almost like we're missing a step here in the process. And we're going to have to tough out 5 issues of just characters being venomized maybe, without really an idea of what the overall story is going to be until possibly September, which has me a little worried about, the way that's being published overall. But I'm not the person paid to make those decisions, so we'll see how that all works out. As far as art goes, it was a little iffy in points. We picked out just spots of sketchiness throughout, but I didn't hate it. I liked the grittiness of it based on the character of choice. I wish Laura would have looked more badass and reminiscent of the character on the cover in the issue, and that would be just one minor complaint. But looking at everything as a story overall, like, I'm still interested in this, and I don't hate it. So I would rate it a borrow. It's definitely not forget territory for me. But if you're a fan of X-23 and you're a fan of Venom, or even one of the two, I would suggest checking this out and to see how you feel about it. So it's a borrow as far as everything goes for me. I liked it enough to be back at least for Gwenpool to see how that goes. And if I don't like the Gwenpool issue, I'll just jump back for when the actual Venomverse event starts and it feels like the story gets going, So that's where we're at here.
Do you think, I wanted to ask you, do you think that, like, how Cap showed up at the end and grabbed her and he's like, we got a war to fight. Do you think, like, the next story we'll see, like, Gwenpool's kind of origin of how she gets the symbiote, and then towards the end again, maybe we'll see Laura and like, we'll get little bits of information throughout, like, this?
Yeah. No, I think next issue is going to be exactly how this issue started. You're not going to find anything out about Venomverse until maybe the last 1 or 2 pages where after
little
the
bits.
Gwenpool story occurs and she hooks up with the symbiote and displays that power for a quick fight, she gets sucked off into this new universe and maybe runs into this Cap and Laura, and they're like, we need you for a fight, and then we're going to get the next character. That's how I think this is going.
That's what I
Which
was
is a
thinking,
little weird. Isn't that weird? Am I the only one that thinks that? Am I being raining shit on everyone's parade here? I don't know.
It depends. It depends on Venomverse.
Depends on what happens next.
Because like if each character that we get an issue about are the main characters of Venomverse, and we get a tease about what Venomverse is going to be out, like say we get like 2 to 3 pages of little trickles of information about what Venomverse is ultimately going to be, but then we get to see character developments, like each issue of all our main characters. That would be pretty cool if it works out that way.
Yeah. So what do you think as far as, because I said borrow, what do you think? You're the one. Continue your thoughts there and then tell me. Bye, borrow or forget it. Yeah.
I gotta be honest. Like when this issue opened up, going into it, I hadn't really any interest in it, and I was curious about it, but then I heard from a few people that I wasn't all that, so I was like going into it with very, very low expectations, and I was a little pleasantly surprised when I read it. I like the opening when she's in the elevator, stuffing the fries in her mouth. She looks like a feral. She looks like a feral little Chucky doll, and she's like shoving, and like her eyes are looking like each floor, like floor 5, her eyes are looking straight, and then floor 4, she's like glancing at the floors, and then she's still glancing while she's shoving fries in her mouth. And then when she gets to 1, she's like ready to rock. Like I loved that page because she just looked insane, and then she hops out the elevator and attacks. The art wasn't the best art I've ever seen, but it wasn't absolutely awful. I was okay with it. I'm not a big. I know this artist. I've seen his work in other books, and I'm not a huge fan. But he did come through on mannerisms and facial expressions, and so that was good. Even though he has like that dirty style where sometimes it's hard to make out what's happening, you still you could still see what's happening, which is really nice, because sometimes it just doesn't work out with this type of art in a story like this. I like that first page, but halfway through I had those problems, about the eating the children. I had a few things that I didn't like, but when we got to the middle, when she's been with the kids for like a few weeks, and then they're still in the ice cream, and she does the bloody nose things, and then the little kids have pieces of the symbiote that she gave to them so that they could protect themselves, so nobody would hurt them. And it started to get interesting for me, like midway through towards the end. And when she got sucked through like that portal or whatever it was, and like the symbiote she started taking back her parts of the symbiote from them, and the kids are like, don't leave us, like who's gonna protect us? Like think about it, like she's going away, those kids are either gonna get killed or taken by like the Weapon X program. Yeah, they're dead.
They're definitely dead.
They were just attacking them. They're dead,
and they have no symbiote.
And but yeah, this is like it's a borrow. This is a borrow because like I'm curious, I'm interested, and if it goes the way we were discussing earlier, like where we get a little bit and we get introduced to our main characters throughout Edge of Venomverse, and then we get a little bit about what it's going to be about throughout every issue, so we have an idea going into it. It could be really cool, and it also depends on the art of the actual event of Venomverse. I know Cullen Bunn is writing it, but I'm not sure who's doing the art. But it's piqued my interest, but it's a borrow.
Yeah. What about you, Carl? And our thoughts on our main books here for us.
I went into this book with a completely open mind. I didn't know what to expect. Anytime that you pick a spider book, I always go in, and especially if it's a #1, I go in wanting to like it. I really enjoyed the story. I had some issues with the inconsistency of the art, especially the parts that I picked out. You have Laura 1 minute all black, and then she's in yellow, and then she looks like she's 5 in one panel and then 20 in the next. So you get some inconsistencies in the art. I can overlook some of those, but I mean, I'm going to agree with you guys on borrow. But if it would have been more solid with art details, I probably would have even went bio for this issue. I liked it that much.
Yeah,
it was weird because she went from like 10 to 13 to 15 throughout the issue.
but it was only like months later.
A few weeks, yeah.
It was months later, and she aged so much.
Yeah. Hey, puberty's a bitch. What can I say?
And especially being like a clone of Wolverine, she should be like young for a long ass time.
Yeah, she should age a lot slower. Maybe they age quick until they get boobs, and then it slows down
Yeah,
after that.
And then you hit puberty and you slow down.
Yeah,
it's once they hit maturity. It's like that for all mutants, though. It's not just.
Well, all right. We got just to recap our main books for the day. Our overall thoughts, since we had a buy, one borrow, and one forget for Doctor Strange, would be probably a borrow for that book. Overall thoughts for Jean Grey would be a buy, and overall thoughts for Edge of Venomverse would be a borrow. We're going to kick it for a little bit, talk about the newest event title to come out this week, and that was the main book of Secret Empire 5. Yeah, and I think Trevitt pretty much recaps everybody's thoughts on this series so far in this issue. But we don't do a panel by panel breakdown of it, thank God, anyway. If you're interested in a more in-depth review, there's one at weirdsciencedccomics.com you can find that I wrote. So that'll suffice as far as that goes. But we just tell you to buy, borrow, or forget it altogether. We'll go in reverse order from where we started last issue. So Carl's going to kick things off. What do you think, Carl? Buy, borrow, or forget Secret Empire 5, since this is kind of your baby. You've been reading it since the Captain America started.
I have 3 points, and I'll give my score. So point 1, starting in issue 0, everybody on the podcast thought the exact same part was the most interesting thing for 0, and that was the Dark Force dimension. We haven't seen it once in Secret Empire except for a flash in the main series. You only get it in the backups. We're in issue 5. You should be seeing something about that by now. So it's pissing me off that you're not seeing something that's a big fucking part of the story 5 issues into the actual main story.
Yeah, that's
the only thing we really saw was that drugstore thing with Luke Cage and Iron Fist and all that.
Yeah,
but and everything else
that was in Doctor Strange, or that was in Doctor Strange.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, they set it up in the main series too. It was issue 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But it was real short.
Luke Cage and Iron Fist wasn't there. Luke Cage and Iron Fist wasn't there in the Doctor Strange thing when it happened in the drugstore. And Kingpin came in just like it happened in Doctor Strange. But that's why you're like melding the memories, because Kingpin showed up at the end just like he did in Doctor Strange. But
it's still just a small little portion. I would expect to be seeing more if it's something that was that big.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
But I mean,
if you really think about it, we haven't seen anything with the Planetary Defense Shield either, because all those stories were broken off into tie-ins. Yeah, right. We've seen less from outside the Planetary Defense Shield than we've seen of the Dark Force. We've seen more of the Dark Force dimension in Secret Empire than we've seen of Captain Marvel and Hyperion and everyone out in space, because all that's going on in the Mighty Captain Marvel tie-ins. And the Dark Force dimension stuff is going on in Doctor Strange. It's like they created these stories and then broke them off into tie-ins, you know.
But it's stupid, because if you're gonna read Secret Empire, no one's gonna have thousands of dollars to go. But I know I'm gonna throw a big number out there, but to go buy every single tie-in to this story to read.
Yeah, it's not thousands.
Every single week.
No.
Okay, $15 a week. $15 a week.
Yeah.
Extra that you're not gonna normally spend on comics.
Yeah. Well, what about point 2?
Point 2, the art in this book had Iron Man looking like a Cyberman from Doctor Who.
I don't know Doctor Who, but I'll take your word for it.
I couldn't get over it. I
don't know which panel you're talking about. That's why. Where was it where he looked like that?
Page 13, 14. I have to open up the book real fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at 13.
Well, what about Trevitt will hunt it down. He'll confirm. What about point 3 here?
Okay. Point 3 is
a little bit.
This event is happening so fucking slow.
Yeah, I know.
I need some action real fast, or it's going to be a forget. This is a borrow still, because I am desperately wanting this book to be good. I have followed it from the beginning, starting at Captain America #1, Steve Rogers, when they first started really unraveling this. So I am desperate for this to be good.
He does look like one of the Cybermen a little bit.
What about you, Trev? What do you got for overall thoughts? Buy, borrow, or forget it?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hold on, I had some And where the fuck did I type
Do you
that?
want me to go? I got mine up.
Yeah, go for it. I'll
All right. Well,
looking for
Trevor pulls
something
up
there.
his notes. I'll skip him and we'll go to me here. Uh, I just I'll say my answer overall, and then I'll tell you real quick. I just got 4 bullets. I got it down as a forget for me. I just don't understand the purpose overall of the main event title at this moment. I feel like anything interesting that's happening or brought up in the main event book is immediately dropped and never explored again. Like, you know, you guys mentioned the Dark Force and Captain Marvel stuck in space, and all we do is deal with these little political squabbles, and they don't even feel like epic or big. Down in the United States, you know, and Atlantis we've dealt with, I guess, at one point, but it just doesn't feel as big as it should, and it's turned into bickering and squabbling, and we just spent 3 issues exploring fucking hunting down cosmic cubes, only to this issue decide we're not going to do that anymore, and we're going to do something else. Maybe go back in time. I don't fucking understand why explore that for 3 issues to just suddenly drop it as a story point is strange.
Tony lied. Tony said he had this fucking device that was gonna find them, and then he's like, "Well, he just bullshitted them."
It tracks it, but it doesn't locate it exactly. It tells you where it's been at least. You know, maybe the tie-ins are better. I'm not reading hardly any of the tie-ins to find out though if this story's really fleshed out like it's supposed to be, and I'm not going to if the main series isn't good and inspiring me to do so. You know what I'm saying? They got it backwards. I feel like a lot of the stories unraveling in these tie-ins that nobody's really reading. And
too big.
Yeah, it is. It's way too large of a story to be told. Tell it in the main event book, or it doesn't need to be an event. It needs to be a crossover that's broken down like Pleasant Hill.
Yeah.
And then the art, this issue just had no flow to it. Like it just changed jarringly so many times from Rod Rice to Sorrentino to whoever was doing a Sorrentino impression in the beginning. I just don't know. It's a forget for me. That's where I'm at. Who was it, Trev?
That's the artist from that one issue. I thought it was going to be a regular biweekly or once a month book, but it was one of the, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's one of the companion books. It was that followed Black Widow. It was by Paul Aller and somebody else. I forget who the artist was, but that's where.
Is it the Uprising book?
Yeah,
Uprising.
Secret Uprising.
And this section is written and drawn by the same person who did that issue. So we're getting Uprising in the main event book instead of it being a companion book. We just get like a few pages of it in the beginning of every issue, which is kind of weird. My problem with this book is you got too many fucking balls in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just way too much going on. And if you're not reading all the, it's one of sometimes like, you can read a story and you don't need to read all the tie-ins, but that's not this event. This event is so big. There are so many ideas. There are so many threads that he just can't tell it in this one story. And it's not like, I'm not saying you can't tell it in one story. It's just he can't seem to tell it in this one story. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, we got tie-ins that are better than the actual book. Like Doctor Strange is way more interesting than like what's going on in the Dark Force dimension with Doctor Strange is way 1,000 times more interesting than what's going on in this book. You know what I mean? And they got so many great, interesting ideas in here, but they just can't get it up. You know what I mean? He just can't get it up. And I don't know. You're right about the like jumping from artist to artist to artist. That is jarring, and I'm still not getting why. Tony, like, God, it's just there's so many problems. Like, it suffers from being a bi-weekly book because, you know, he's rushing the story, and then they added 2 issues to it, or 2 or 3. How many did they add? Did they add 2 or 3?
2.
They had 2.
What was it? It was 2. All right, so
it's gonna be 12 total.
We went from 8 to 10. Like it was just. I think Generations, and then I think with the backlash of everything that happened at that conference, and I don't know if they had Legacy planned before that, if it was like, I think a lot of things that are going on right now at Marvel are completely reactionary to sales and fan outcry, and they don't really know what they're doing. Like, I mean, I love Marvel, but they they're trying to get back to square one, and I'm hoping it all, like, we get a nice fresh start at Legacy, but they just got too many things going on, too many balls in the air, and they just can't seem to fucking juggle them. This started off as like a really good story. It was really interesting to me. I enjoy, everybody says, oh, I don't want Captain America to be a Nazi. I mean, everybody who calls Captain America a Nazi didn't read Captain America. Like, it's not about being a Nazi. It's not about that. Like, it was way more interesting that, and his character is way more complex than that. But none of that gets explored in this event. Yeah. None of it. It all became about finding. It all became about finding the shard, and then we're not going to find the shard, and then we get bits and pieces of what Black Widow and her crew are doing, but that's really going nowhere. Like, nothing is really getting anywhere. You know what I mean? That whole Hank Pym Ultron issue was a waste. Think about it. They're not going to go for the shards. Everything up until now is just all
appears in an issue. They don't ever appear again. Like, every time someone declares themselves Hydra or hooks Captain America up, they don't ever appear again, like Punisher or Ultron or who else?
I like the converse.
Who's the first that said they were Hydra?
And Namor.
Oh yeah, Namor. He's kind of on their side. Well, he gave Captain America the shard.
I liked the Odinson stuff. That was pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Like, the reason why he's with them is his faith in Captain America. You know what I mean? Because when you really think about Thor, I mean, he has been here for a long time, but he is an outsider. And when it comes to people like Thor and like Punisher, like, these are people who, like, kind of respect and look up to Captain America. So they, like, firmly believe that, like, maybe he does have the right idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like especially Deadpool. Punisher.
Yeah.
Especially Punisher. Yeah, and Deadpool.
I said in my review, my favorite part of the issue were the 3 pages they explored the good guys that went bad: Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Thor, and that's all we've gotten of that interesting part of those characters in this series.
And that's it.
And it's 1 page for each character, real briefly. I like how Vision's like fighting it. He's trying to get a message out to his daughter and Tony, and they're like, you know, filling him with this virus still. And it also reveals that the people in Cap's cabinet they're filling his head with what he wants to hear and not telling him the truth. Like, they're having problems.
I don't want to trust there either.
But Cap doesn't know it. Thor's having doubts, but Cap doesn't know it, you know?
I liked this bit with Beast and Captain America and Thor's hammer, and basically, you know, how, like, he can use it, but he's not gonna yet. Like, there are some things that I really enjoyed about this issue, but overall, like, that's how I feel. That's
it's very boring.
I want to say it's a borrow, but it's not. I mean, I was excited about this event because Captain America was interesting to me. Even Sam Wilson was a little interesting to me. Like, those 2 titles led up to this, and I'm just not getting not just what I thought I would, because I'm getting what I thought I would. I'm just not getting it the way I thought I was going to get it, and it's just too convoluted, too crazy. It's just too much, and I'm sorry. Let's just wait for Legacy. Like, unless this is going to get better. Like, because there are other titles at Marvel that aren't involved that are pretty good, but there's also tie-ins for this story that are really good. But, like, the book itself it's just not delivering the way it should. And Spencer's a good writer. He's not a bad. A lot of people give him shit, but he's a decent writer. He's wrote a lot of good stuff, but he's just, I don't know. It's just he's not getting it together here.
He wanted to do this big giant event. He's in over his head.
Too big. Way too big. Like, he tried to go big, but he went way. And what's going on with I don't know if it's Bucky or what's the guy's name who got murdered in, like, the 2nd issue or whatever? It's not Rick Jones, is it?
Rick Flag?
No.
Yeah,
Rick Flag's from Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah,
it's Rick Jones, right?
Rick Jones, yes.
Rick Jones.
I don't know if that's like with the other Steve, the nice Steve, where they're all fishing and walking through the woods. Like, I don't know if that's Sam or if that's like.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I think it's
anymore.
Sam and Bucky.
I don't know what that is.
I thought it was Sam and Bucky from the beginning.
Rick
Jones. Oh no, I know who the characters are. That's not my problem with that part. It's they keep showing it and they're telling you nothing about it. What the fuck is it?
And the Red Skull shows up all muscular and weird, and like, I have no clue
the dude
what's
from The
going
Walking
on.
Dead.
And then Bruce Banner's back, but I get the idea that I don't know if it's a clone of Bruce Banner or if they, like, Frankensteined him back to the dead.
Yeah,
but
that
like
was the cliffhanger.
Oh God,
I know.
Just I don't know. It's
and it probably won't be explored. next
No,
issue.
I know.
We
We won't see
see
Hulk
it.
ever again. They just
We won't
showed
see Hulk ever again.
I know.
The only saving grace of this series is that it doesn't cost any more than a regular book would. Like it's $3.99 an issue,
You
just
get
like
a
any
lot,
other book at
but I
Marvel.
wish it was more exciting for all you get.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that like within the next 2 issues, like some good shit. Like there's got to be some kind of showdown. I mean, at this point in a 7-8 issue series, we would have saw. There's usually like a midway showdown, like in Civil War when Goliath got killed by that android Thor, or you know what I mean. There's usually like a mid event battle that happens to keep us engaged. We haven't gotten that yet, and we're halfway through. I don't know.
And the battles aren't even battles. It's just Hydra comes and bombs the good guys, and the good guys take it like a bitch. That's what happens every time there's a battle.
That's all that goes on.
Las Vegas all over again.
And it's funny, they got in the back when you go to the last pages and they show you all the tie-ins, it'll say Secret Empire June, and it shows you the companion books, and it shows you the companion book and the Captain America books, and then it'll say Beyond the Shield, which is Guardians Annual, the Mighty Captain Marvel and Deadpool, that takes place like outside the Shield, and then it says, and Secret Warriors, U.S. Avengers, Occupy Avengers, then Dark Force, the new What's Happening in New York is Doctor Strange, Amazing Spider-Man, even though that's not taking place in New York, and Uncanny Avengers, which Uncanny Avengers does take place in New York. And that was actually good. The last issue of Uncanny Avengers was good, and it's fucked up because the Dark Force Dimension stuff is really interesting, and we're only getting it in tie-ins. So what the hell?
Yeah. All right, we'll stop ranting about Secret Empire. We got one barrel. Carl's still hanging on there. He won't come to our dark side yet. We got 2 forgets. But Carl gets outvoted, so we got it overall as a forget if we're keeping score. But we're gonna end things on a high note. We mentioned last week, Carl talked about some list he found on IGN. It's from 2016. It mentions the top 100 comic book villains. So we put Carl to work. We made him dig out the top 10 Marvel villains. So he's gonna recap those for us, and we're gonna have a little short discussion regarding what we think of IGN's top 10 Marvel villains, and if we think anybody's neglected or if anybody's overrated as far as that goes. So why don't you start at number 10 and work your way up, and we'll chime in with some thoughts as we go along the way here.
All right. So for Marvel only, so number 10 for Marvel, listed at number 19 on the IGN list is Juggernaut.
Okay, I don't hate that one.
Number 9, listed at number 18 on the IGN list is Mystique.
I don't think Mystique should be higher than Juggernaut, though.
I don't either. Although,
not like
full series by Brian K.
Yeah, it's not like she's more powerful. I'm not basing it off that. You know, I'm not like, oh, she's a pussy. She should be lower than Juggernaut. But I feel like Juggernaut's more of a threat than Mystique, just based on how much he comes around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, I got you on that one. So I do. Here's the thing. I think Mystique is more deadly than Juggernaut, just because she could come at you as anybody.
Yeah,
you could
I guess she's more of a mind fuck than a physical threat.
You know, if she wants you killed, she could be a little girl, walk up to you asking for help, and then boom, she breaks your neck and moves on.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's actually in her own series by Brian K. Vaughan. She did that. She was in a room and a bunch of people were attacking her, and she turned into a little girl, and she was like, "You're not gonna hurt me." And they all paused, like they were confused, like they didn't know what to do. Like, what are we gonna do? We can't hit a little girl. She still looks like a little girl, you know what I mean? And then she just starts beating their ass. That's pretty cool.
All right, what are we on? 8?
Number 8, listed at number 14 on the IGN list, is Red Skull.
Okay, I like that one.
Yeah.
Number 7.
I thought he would be higher, actually, though.
I thought it'd be higher too, but number 7, listed at number 13 on the IGN list, is Norman Osborn.
Okay.
Yeah, they're about even. I think they're about even.
I mean, Dark Reign, Siege, like some good
Norman
stuff.
Osborn's he's got a push towards, the last 10, 15 years bigger than Red Skull, I would say.
Yeah, he's a diabolical motherfucker.
All right, and listed at number 10 on the IGN list, this is our number 5, it would be Kingpin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's just. I feel like he doesn't come around enough to be number 5, and
He's a
also
schemer.
Me too.
he always gets defeated. Like he's never had like a. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can tell me. But he's never had like a long-term successful run as a bad guy where I've really felt he's a super threat. You know what I'm saying?
I get you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Up until now, even when he was like in prison during like Civil War, when he sent the sniper to kill him at May, and like he does always get caught eventually. So
Yeah, I feel like he just does a lot of petty shit that gets himself in trouble in the end. You know what and the huge bad guys don't deal with the low level street shit.
yeah, I concur.
Yeah, I got it.
Next.
So next on the list, listed for us is number. This would be 1, 2, 3.
I think
So
what are we on?
this
4?
would actually be number 5. So Kingpin was
okay.
number 6. So number
Okay.
5 would be the Dark Phoenix, listed at number 9 on IGN's list.
Yeah, I can get down with some Dark Phoenix.
Next is Loki, BR number 4, listed on IGN's number 8.
Jesus.
I think Phoenix is higher than Loki, but yeah, Loki.
Okay.
I got 2 that I'm waiting to hear. That if they're not on this list, I'm gonna be super fucking pissed.
Next on our list, it'd be our number 3, listed at IGN's number 5 is Galactus.
Okay.
Nah,
Yeah, I know.
he's a big villain.
He's a good guy now too, though. But this is an old list.
This is an older list.
He's a world-ending villain, but still. Go on.
Next on the list, this will be our number 2, listed as number 3 on IGN's list is Doctor Doom.
Okay, that's what I was waiting for.
That's what I was waiting for too. That's one of the 2.
Drum roll for number 1, listed as number 1 on IGN's list is Magneto.
Ugh, come on. I agree. Magneto should be in the top 3, but where the fuck is Kang the Conqueror? Seriously.
Yeah, where's Thanos too? Nobody said Thanos.
Yeah. Where's
No
Thanos?
one said
Where's Kang.
So what you guys can do is send me a list of who you thought should have been in that 2016's top 100 and our top 10. Someone send me an email. Give me something to do.
Yeah.
And
Pop
I will
our
look
email
up there.
virginity. We're still waiting for that. Someone take our V card.
Someone send me an email asking me for a specific Marvel villain and where they fell on that list. I will go back and find that page and research it.
Yeah.
And I will make sure
send in your top 3 Marvel villains. So we had what? What was IGN's list? Magneto, Doom, and Galactus.
Yeah, Magneto, Doom, and Galactus.
Top 3.
Top 3.
Okay.
They're listed as 1,
That's
3, and
respectable,
5.
but I think Thanos should knock. I think it should be Thanos, Doom, and I don't know even if Magneto would be 3 for me. I really have to think about it.
Mine, I'll tell you mine. Mine would be Doom, Thanos, Kang, and then Magneto.
Yeah, Magneto's definitely in my top 5. I just don't know if I'm putting him at 3. He's somewhere, I think 4 or 5. Like I got to really think about who's 3, but I don't think Magneto's 3.
See, I would
Doom
go.
should be number 1.
I would go Doom for number 1.
Thanos.
Then Galactus.
I don't hate that.
Or yeah, well now would be Thanos. But I mean, with this list being compiled in at the end of 2015 for 2016. Was he still a bad guy at that point?
Thanos or Galactus?
Galactus.
That happened in the middle of summer last year, I think.
Yeah.
So he was still a villain at that point because it was 2000.
Until that point.
So
I mean, I can
if we're
see
going right now,
one. He's just not. He's not a big. He's not around enough. I feel like the top 3 villains should be guys around a lot that you deal with a lot that have the possibility to really threaten your heroes.
Yeah, they've got their biases because it could have been their favorite person who made this could have used their favorite villains in higher spots than they should have been because, like you all said, Mystique shouldn't have been as higher than Juggernaut, and I don't think Kingpin should have been listed at number 10.
Yeah.
Wait, cool. Taskmaster? Where's Taskmaster? He's an awesome.
Taskmaster. He's awesome.
Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baron Zemo. Jesus. Dormammu, like
even this, like I think of the Sentinels, and I think of them as more of really a solid threat that maybe
they're
is like a
terrifying.
top 10 villain. Yeah, like they would scare me to death in the cartoon
like-
when I was a kid.
And how is Doom not number one? Because he's the most ridiculous bastard on the face of the planet. Like half the time, like in Avengers stories, like you could see Doom show up for like 20 issues in a row, and every one of those times it might not have been Doom. Actually, it could have been, because there are so many stories where he sent a Doom bot, like Doom almost ended the world, and it turned out to be a Doom bot, and you have no idea where the actual Doctor Doom is through all this. Or the time like before Siege and Thor, where he was like kidnapping Asgardians and fucking experimenting on them and cutting them into pieces, and like he's the most fucked up, despicable person in the Marvel universe. Secret Wars, like he's so fucking crazy. Like he always talks about himself in the third person.
That's
like,
my favorite part
Doom.
about him right there. Yeah, the Doom talk is my favorite. But that was a good sign out segment. We'll think of something new for next week for you guys. We still got a Bendis Theater coming up. We got to get a good Bendis book for that to happen. We got Spider-Man 18 next week. So maybe to wrap up, we'll find a good scene from that book to end it on that, because we're going to get into next week's books here. And even though I'm not covering that one, we might be able to spotlight it in a sign out segment. But if you are looking to reach us, send us your top 3 Marvel villains, get a hold of us, argue with us about our opinions. You can send any emails to marvelmadnesspod@gmail.com, or you can DM us your thoughts on Twitter. If you don't want to use the 140 character limit, DMs are open for business. You can get us there. And that's at Madness Marvel 1, obviously on Twitter. So at Madness Marvel 1. And that's how you guys can reach us. Of course, review us on iTunes. We'll share some digital codes throughout the week, so go to our Twitter for that. And you can get some personally sent you if you give us a review. And you let us know when it pops up. So we're going to get up to next week's books here as far as Spider-related titles go. There's a Spider-Man one-shot conveniently planned for the week of the movie, which I'm going to try to sneak out and see Thursday night. That is Spider-Man Master Plan #1, and that comes out this Wednesday. So check that out. That should be a decent book. I think Ryan Stegman, if I'm not mistaken, is on writer and or writing duties for that issue, and he usually does pretty decent jobs. So what about the hero section? When are you going to cover, Carl?
So I will be covering Avengers #9 coming out next week, which will be a Secret Empire tie-in, so we can go over how much better the tie-in's going to be than the actual event. So that's going to be written by Mark Waid, art by Phil Noto.
Yeah, that's a pretty good team there. So what about the IVX section, Trevor? What you got for us there?
I'm going to be doing all new Wolverine #23, I believe it's 23, which it's the beginning of a new arc, but it's also following the story of the previous arc.
Yeah, so
which can be summed up in 2 sentences. So.
Yeah, it should be a good jumping on point for all new Wolverine. And I've been in and out of that book, so I won't be totally lost like I came into Doctor Strange today. So I'm excited to kind of get back in with that book, because I like Tom Taylor a lot. And instead of
it's a good book.
Event book wise, next week we're going to do a mini series for you guys. Since there's no Secret Empire main title coming out, we're going to give you a treat and do 4 books anyway. We're going to do Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, #2.
Again, #1.
Yeah, well, it's Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe 2, #1.
Again. It's listed as Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe again, #1.
Okay. All right. Damn, I thought Marvel Universe 2 #1 was a clever name too, but all right, again isn't bad either. So yeah, that's what's coming at you guys next week. Any closing thoughts for anybody out there on our way out the door here, guys?
I got nothing.
I got nothing to do. I got nothing.
All right. Yeah, it's late. We're gonna go enjoy the rest of our 4th of July weekend. So I hope you guys get to this in time at some point throughout the week when you got to crawl your ass back to work. You got something waiting for you at least. But from all the guys here at the Marvel Madness Comics Podcast, enjoy your week. Stay away from the fireworks. Keep your hands. And you guys have a good one. Party's over on this end. Peace out.
Later.
Peace.